Start the second episode so you can welcome back, and I'd like to hear back in specifically on Rittenhouse.
Yes.
And
Okay.
kind of this, and kind of pick it back up. So I'm going to drop it back in.
Okay.
Just wanted to make sure I closed out one so folks who were listening come back in for the second half of the show because it's getting into the fun stuff. And welcome to Misunderstood.
Yeah, and I was saying, I feel like it would have gone differently if he was not armed.
I think it would have. You're right, and it would have been Rittenhouse that would have probably been in a pine box, or been at that's at the very worst. At the medium worst, he would have been in critical condition in the hospital somewhere.
Well, now what makes you think
Man,
that?
this is the center.
Because if you look at it, one of the gentlemen did have a firearm, and it was that handgun that you so eloquently said that you think that he should have had. Now you see the difference. So if
Do you think he would have sought out somebody who was actively helping people with medical kit to shoot?
you have to look at the picture for what it is. There are people in this world, okay, on both sides.
Yes.
Okay, there are people in this world that, again, back to the bullying thing, that feel that they are superior to another individual, and it's vast. But criminals are opportunistic predators, and to be fair, what would have happened. But on the opposite end of this spectrum, Rittenhouse would have been dead, because that one cat that just so happened to get his arm damn near blown off, he had a firearm. He had a Glock. He had a Glock 19. Now, if Rittenhouse hadn't have been quick with his weapon and had the discipline that he had, and he would have just been with the medical bag, I'm fairly certain that what would have happened, because it all started from intimidation. And it wasn't Kyle Rittenhouse that was the one that was trying to intimidate people. There were other people trying to intimidate him because they figured he was a punk, a pushover, and they effed around and found out.
But what made him come to that conclusion? The fact that he was carrying an AR rifle?
It could have been the fact that he was there, period, and he looked like a soft target.
Now, for me, that is the issue. He should have been at home watching this same thing the way I was. When we talk about guns being in the wrong places, this felt like me as a visual representation of how guns get into the wrong spaces. What need was there for him to be in this situation? He wasn't there to shop. He wasn't there. This wasn't a normal Friday night for him.
Whatever drives an individual, okay? So let's put it into this perspective. If I was in a situation where something was going on across the street, people were running scared, screaming, hollering, I have two options. Option one, I can ignore the situation and I could just be another person that calls 911. Or I can go find out what's going on and try to help as many people as I can. So now we're in the people control.
Right.
Because what you're saying is, well, he shouldn't have been there.
Yes.
Well, why shouldn't he have been there? What puts anybody in a position of control over someone else to say you shouldn't have been there? It's the same situation that you could say, well, I shouldn't have been where I was on 2019 when at the rally in Virginia. I shouldn't have been there. You know what I'm saying? It was the most beautiful thing I've ever seen in my entire life. You had thousands of guns, thousands of gun owners. And I've never ever, have you ever seen a situation where an individual had a rally of some sort, and then when they left, it was cleaned up by the individuals? I was out there picking up trash.
Yeah.
We cleaned up before we left. So, and that's gun owners. But then there was another rally not too long after, I think it was maybe a year or two after down there, and they left it dirty as all get out. So it's not that we have an S on our chest, but it's a fact that a gun owner, an actual honest to God gun owner, is never going to ever run away from a situation because there's somebody being hurt.
Yeah,
What
but you're
like-
talking about somebody going to a situation.
Yeah, that's what this felt like, is that he looked out his window and saw that the neighbors weren't in a commotion. And then he got on the phone and the folks a block over weren't on a commotion. But then he looked on TV and the people across town were. And so he got in his car and he went across town to the commotion. That wasn't his commotion. That wasn't his neighborhood. He doesn't understand what's going on in there. The same way that gun ended up in that trunk and ended up in your hands feels like we watched that happen live. Is a gun moved to a situation that it didn't need to be in, and it escalated the situation.
Yet there were
in ways
guns.
it wouldn't have.
There were guns already at the situation.
And
now, what
I
he
have
did,
problems with those too.
What he did was he decided to wear a firearm for protection of oneself, and he absolutely needed that firearm.
Yes.
To protect himself.
Well,
From a situation he created.
Whether he did or whether he didn't is irrelevant. You can't. No one has the right to tell you where you can and cannot go. Correct?
I don't know. In the United States.
In these United States.
Yeah, there's all kinds of trespassing.
No. I said they can't tell you where you can or can't go. Now, when you get there, there are different laws that can pop up, but they cannot say. Just like I'm a firm believer that there is no imaginary dotted line on a map that should dictate where in the heck my firearm can and can't go from state to state. If I am licensed to carry a concealed firearm in Virginia, then the borders are open.
And again, this also may be like a physical a difference in growing up, because there are places, and I even here in Endicott, where I have been told don't be.
But did you let
for you saying
did you let that stop you?
Yes.
Very
much so.
I've been in Philadelphia, bro. I'm gonna tell you, it's sliced up into boroughs, and I've always been heard, you can't go to such and such after dark. You can't be over in such and such hood. I always went anyway. Why? Because there is no one that tells me where I can't go. If it's a girl over there that I'm going to see, I'm going to see that girl.
Well, now, and I'd say this is where the difference is. I've been invited to Endicott, and I went then. But this idea of me going, they said I can't be there, and now I'm gonna walk into Endicott and be like, F y'all, I'm not. I'll do what I want.
But this
feels like exactly what he did.
Nope, not at all.
Okay.
That is not what he did. And I think that if that's the other thing.
And that's
a lot of people, a lot of people will take what was seen and perceive it to be something else, and that is not what was heard. You understand what I'm saying? Like, it wasn't what was heard. You completely ignored
This is what we saw.
the dialogue, but you just took a snapshot and said, well, he shouldn't have been there. What makes you, are you God?
No.
You know what I'm saying?
I'm trying to say that if he wasn't there, nobody would have gotten shot.
Okay. We don't know that. That's not something that I have the foresight, or you have the foresight, or you have the foresight, or Ramon has the foresight.
Yeah, but you honestly, you
How
think
many
that,
nights that he wasn't there did nobody get shot? I mean, if it's back to statistics, and I think some of it is escalating the situations.
And you believe who's escalating the situation?
I think in this instance, I think he specifically did it.
Because he was there,
Yes.
and because he donned a firearm,
yes,
you believe that he created the situation.
yes,
Yes.
And nobody else has any kind of...
Everybody involved in that situation is culpable.
Okay.
People attacked. So I'm not saying that like he's the guilty party and everybody else is innocent. What I'm saying is he knew some folks in there were stupid, and he picked at the stupid folks.
That's everybody, and he didn't pick at anybody. You had one guy, you had Kyle Rittenhouse that was standing at a store with elders, okay, that had rifles slung, okay? You had a guy that tried to snatch his rifle, Right off the rip. Okay.
Again,
why?
stupid folks.
Why? Because he felt as though he was a punk. Let's put it where it is. He felt as though that he was an easy chump, that he could take his rifle and probably use it on him. And if it wasn't for the elders stepping in, then who knows what would have happened.
Yeah.
So I mean, we could what if this thing to death.
Yeah.
But the bottom line of it is this. Let's look at it. I'm armed.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any place that I'm afraid to go while armed and black? No. Why is that? It's not because of the firearm. It's not because of the firearm at all. The firearm is just an equalizer. It's a shield for me in case of something happening, right? But at the same time, no one can dictate, barring police and government buildings of some sort, no one can dictate where I go or where I don't go. And if I'm innocently traveling from one place to the next.
I applaud you because you have a freedom that I feel more kinship with Philando Castile than I do with you in that instance. Is I feel having a firearm makes me more dangerous than not having a firearm.
Wow, how so? Elaborate on that. Because that's not, we as firearm owners and even if I was to take a handful of people that I know and put them in this same box, okay, we never go anywhere boastful with ill or malice intent, and we never even look at this situation as if we're carrying. It's an appendage. It's an extension of oneself, right? So I'm a whole person now, going out, doing my daily run, whatever the case may be. You can get shot, or you can have the attempt on your life anywhere. Now, do you want to be an individual that sits there and is a mole to be whacked upon? Or do you want to be able to be that mole that can fire back? Because I'm going to tell you now, every situation where you've had a store owner, shopkeep, jewelry store owner, donut shop owner, whatever the case may be, a person stopping by just to pick up their food that actually had a firearm and fought back, there are more people that are saved by firearms than that are taken by firearms. And that's period.
Wow, and this goes to your comfort level, because we talked a little bit about how the hood in Franklin,
Absolutely,
the hood in the country is not the same as the hood in Philadelphia.
It's not.
I have less concern about my travels in the hood in the South than I do my police stops that I've had. There's way more fear for me in those police stops. Absolutely.
This is why I reach out to the sheriff. And I've literally sat and had a conversation, almost a 2-hour conversation with Sheriff Overton on an easy way to remove that stress from black folks across the board and police officers. And it's as simple as this. If certain states, right, want a specific training regimen before somebody carries a firearm, right? Why not make it universal across the board? Let's not make it, some states want to make it so difficult that a person can't get it. Let's be simplistic. Let's be realistic, okay? And let's let it be depending on where they live. Okay, so depending upon where you live, the zip code that you're in, you have this police department, okay, or this sheriff's department. So you're tagged to this department because of where you live. Well, why is it that we can't have these people trained by these officers? Because I'm gonna tell you what will happen. That fear, when them lights go on and you're carrying a firearm, okay, will go away as soon as the cop walks up to the door and sees the person that he trained or sees the person that was in the training course.
Yeah,
you understand what I'm saying?
I'm very much like that.
That it would disappear. You wouldn't have that anxiety. You wouldn't have that level of intensity where I don't know what to do. It's very simple. I taught this to Ramon. I said it's very simple. If you're stopped by an officer, you give them, when he asks for license, registration, proof of insurance, you also hand him your carry conceal permit. Once you hand him your carry conceal permit, I'm gonna tell you, I've been stopped several times here in Rocky Mount, in Roanoke, in Vinton, and so on and so forth, and it's all been the same outcome. I keep my information on my person to where I can grab it quickly. Okay. Once the stop engages and I hand him all my information, right, or her my information, then they say, okay, you carrying now? I absolutely am carrying now. Where are you carrying? And they know you might get some that just ask, where are you carrying? And then you might have some that ask, where are you carrying? Just speak it, don't point. Don't grab, don't make any sudden movements, right? So I've had one officer that was like, where are you carrying? Just tell me, don't point. And I normally, my 3 o'clock or 12 o'clock. You know what I'm saying? And you know what I've gotten in response? Yeah, you don't touch yours, I won't touch mine. Fair enough. And it's been nothing but positivity of, if you can have any, during a traffic stop. But it's been nothing but positivity. I think it all boils down to you have a group of people telling young kids to push back on police officers. In other words, to disrespect authority figures. Okay? And they're doing that. So the blood is on their hands for that. What you need to do, and I've always told people that I've trained with, comply now, complain later. If you have evidence when you go to court that says that you weren't doing this ridiculous speed limit that he stopped you for, or that your tail light wasn't out, or that you didn't have a tire wobbling, whatever the case may be, deal with that in court. Get your lawyer, deal with that in court, and go from there. Bring your evidence, and that's that.
And so you're saying give up your constitutional rights?
No, sir, I never said that. I said comply now, complain later. If a person asks me,
if they stop you illegally, you're still, hey, here's my document.
Right to security in persons.
Yeah. Yeah. I can choose to escalate the situation. Now we're back on personal responsibility.
Yes.
I could choose to escalate the situation, and I could choose to be belligerent, and I could choose to say, look, you're trampling on my constitution. I don't have to give you nothing. I could do all of that.
Now you can be respectful and still assert your rights.
Exactly right, and that's what I've done.
And I think
this
is where I feel that there's a disconnect. I don't think that there are any bad police officers. I think not many.
Okay.
In
I'm glad you said not many.
In Franklin County especially, we have a sheriff's office that I think is highly respected by the black community. We have a police department that works very hard to keep a lot of us safe and is well understaffed. But we also have a police department that has the same ingrained issues that all of us have. That same nod that I would give without smiling because there's a little bit of fear between me and other black men is not something that's built into me as an individual. It's built into a system.
Okay.
So even though I comply,
right,
when they come up on me, all that belief of the American system of who black men are exists in that stop. It's not something we can train out. Now, you add to the top of that, what that police officer is doing in that instance is just extremely dangerous. He's on the side of a road, cars are going by, he's got an unknown situation, somebody who's pissed off, maybe on drugs. So we put him in a bad situation, we put him in an instance, and then
there's a firearm involved somehow.
And then there's a firearm involved.
So you think that escalates the situation?
I think all of it escalates the situation.
I don't.
What we're asking the police to do, me being black, escalates the situation. And then putting a firearm
I
on
disagree.
top.
I disagree.
That is a disagreement.
I've been in that situation, so I can attest to the fact that is not where that lies at all. Where things go wrong is when slight movements are happening. It's a respect thing. If a cop pulls you over, and if it's at night, I'm gonna tell you exactly what I do. I cut on my lights, my dome lights inside the vehicle. I roll my window down. I don't care whether it's raining. I don't care whether it's snowing or it's sunshine. I roll my window all the way down. We're able to see each other. Okay. I already have my credentials in my hand. Okay, because I purchased the wallet specifically set up so I can do a quick reach whenever I needed to.
So-
and then I go, what seems to be the problem, officer?
So we have de-escalation techniques.
That's what I'm
Exactly.
telling you, is this idea that as black men, we have been trained to de-escalate a situation prior. That you purchased a specific wallet. And this is not something I think is even out of the unusual. When we traveled, like, we set ourselves up to make sure that if we are stopped,
So that's
we can
that's
de-escalate
the problem.
immediately.
That's the problem. Because here is what the problem is. It's not about getting de-escalation techniques. It's about just respecting other people, period.
But if
other
you
than
have
yourself.
if you have to roll
I
the
didn't
window
have
down
to.
in the rain
I don't have to.
in
I
order
choose
to be respectful, but that's how you have to present yourself in order
I
to be
choose to
threatened.
do that, not for any other reason than the fact that there is an individual that's out in this pouring down rain. Okay, what is it for me to roll down my window to where am I too good to not get wet? Not have my forearm
It
wet?
sounds like you do this regardless of the weather.
Yes.
This is just.
It's just me.
Yeah,
This is how you
but I
protect
don't
yourself.
think
And
it's just you.
I've not been. This has not been something that I trained to do. This is not something that someone had ingrained in me to do. Now, when I train people, do I give them that tidbit of information? Yeah, I do. And the reason why I do it is not so much for the officer's sake, it's more for their sake, so that they can understand that it's not the way that one perceives it to be in a traffic stop. I've been in traffic stops in Pennsylvania
Yes.
with a firearm. I've been in traffic stops in New Jersey with a firearm. That's fun. I do not recommend it. I've been in Delaware. It all depends on the individual and how far that individual wants to take things. You have some people in this world that do have chips on their shoulder. I'm not going to sit here and say that they don't. On the citizen side and on the officer side, I'm not going to sit here and say that there's not. But what I am going to sit here and say, if I respect you as an individual and who you are, then you will respect me and who I am just because. Now you have an overwhelming amount of young individuals that have been taught and that have been trained to not give a F about who anybody is. It's all about you.
Oh. Well, culturally, I know that as a black man, the same technique that you have rolling down the window, I have ingrained in my kids.
We're using
all
it.
my
It is
black friends have
trained.
ingrained in their kids. This has been passed down for generations.
Yeah, I didn't get that
since
memo.
sundown time. Since sundown
How
time.
is it that you're doing the same things we're doing to de-escalate situations? This
Just
idea of
being
being
respectful.
prepared in
And
the
I'd like to
first
get
place.
Ramon's take on this
Yeah,
also.
Just being respectful.
How
No,
are you handling stops?
I'm gonna tell y'all guys, I feel about the way y'all guys feel, because I just feel like when I'm being pulled over, we as black men have to present ourselves a certain way. Period. And when you do have a gun, it makes someone like me even. I will get more nervous about my stance with this policeman. I'm like, okay, I got a gun. I'm gonna go through the proper channels. What mood, in my mind, in most black men's mind, what mood is this guy in? What mood is he in? So it just.
I
Drew just went, not me.
Yeah, I already knew his take because we have
Because
this
I'm
argument
already-
all the time.
I'm already fearful. I'm already there.
Yeah.
I'm already there.
I needed you to
But
say that
then-
because Drew got me going, man, am I supposed to be braver than this?
I mean, you should.
No, like I said,
You should.
I'm saying when I was younger,
where you want.
I had more of a temper. And back in the 90s, I should get tickets like I'm going to a concert. and I used to, and I had an attitude. Because at one point I remember getting a speeding ticket, and I'm going to my apartment, and I seen the young officers. I seen both of them. They were at a convenience store. I saw them when I was going to my destination and coming back to my home. And I wasn't speeding, but they pulled me over. And when, like I said, in my mind, when they pulled me over, I said, officer, what seemed to be the problem? He said, you were going, just say I was going 45 into 25. I told him, you a lie.
Oh.
That's exactly what I said. And because I got upset because I had just gotten a ticket a week before. So my wife come down because she seen the lights on, and this is me. Like I said, I was different. But if it's now, I would think I got killed. But then I told my wife, I said I was looking for my driver's license. I mean my registration, my registration in her car. And I told my wife, I said, these guys are lying. And I said it was two cops. I said, if they didn't have that outfit on, I'll beat both of them down.
Were they still in earshot?
He said, what you say? I said, honey, I'm talking to you. I said, honey, I'm talking to you. I said, I was talking loud. I said, if they didn't have their uniform on, I would beat both of them down because they lied on me. Mm-hmm. But that's just ignorance. It's just purely ignorance.
Yeah.
And I just think that, we need to have a forum where we can communicate on how to better present ourselves when we're being stopped. I think that, it's just that we don't have the know-how to do what is right. We are fearful, but I do think, like Drew had mentioned back a couple of years ago, we should have a little thing in our car that, what we should be doing when, a cop come. We have these, have everything presented so that we can give it to them, do what we got to do just to de-escalate the situation and go about our business, because it's so easy for nowadays, the way the world is nowadays, for anybody to just go off the deep end because they're in a bad situation. They just, I just fucked at my wife. I'm upset. The cop. I'm upset. This is going to be a good opportunity for me to just release some of my energy, because it can easily escalate to that point. And I just feel like, nowadays I'm very careful. I don't speed. I don't do none of the above, because I don't want that energy coming towards me, because, I'm very nervous about how to respond, and just seeing stuff on the news, how people are just being bullied by certain cops. But I'm not saying all cops are that way, because here in Christiansburg, Virginia, Blacksburg, these are some good cops around here. I'm gonna give them credit. I'm not gonna badmouth these guys at all. I have been pulled over in Radford. The guys give me a break. They look, go and take care of this. They're just, on the most part, they're excellent.
Yes.
On the most part, they are excellent, and I can't complain. But in where I'm from, Hampton, Newport News, that's a negative. They're scary. They are scary.
And I especially here, we also have very good police officers. But I think one of the things is we don't take into account kind of the terrible job we're asking. And the same way, like you had this kind of day, you just got a ticket, and now they're coming after you with the wrong information. And then put on top of that, your wife come out and see you in this situation, and you're going to escalate. But I don't think there's any difference between a police officer. A police officer's going to have one of them days. They leave their coffee on the table before they come out. And then stuff they tow getting in the cop car, and then they got to pull you over in the rain.
Wife just got into a wreck with the brand new car he just bought. His insurance going to go through the roof. We are all human beings. And
yes.
I shudder to think, and there are people that think this, and I know not why. I shudder every time I think about it. People, certain individuals in the life that we live, look at officers in this super high esteem, okay? And hold them up in a different standard than average Joe citizen. Should they be held to a certain standard? Absolutely. But are they human beings? Absolutely. And a lot of times you have people that forget these are human beings just like you and I. The only thing different in their line of work, when they get up in the morning, they put on a badge and a gun. They have one of the most dangerous jobs in the entire world.
And I think this is where liberals, I think we messed up, is in things like defund the police. The goal isn't to stop paying officers, it's to make their jobs safer. There are some situations where we don't need a police officer to put his neck on the line.
Well, that went sideways, didn't it?
It did. It did. Because it was catchy.
Because it totally went the opposite direction.
But it was pulled the opposite direction.
It was.
But that same idea is, I don't need police officers pulling people over on the side of the road and handing over tickets when they can snap that license and then just mail it. They don't need to be engaged.
Here's
in
a novel idea.
Situations.
What year do we live in right now?
2024.
The age of technology. Are you telling me, now here's where we agree, are you telling me, okay, that there are not technological ways as of today where it comes down to traffic cameras, drones, you're telling me CCTV cams? I have been a proponent of screaming from the top of Mount Everest that CCTV cams, just like they do it overseas, should be here. Okay? When you are out in public, you have no perceived privacy. Period. So you want to talk about crimes getting solved left and right. Dude, you got it. But we don't rush headlong into that. But we do sit and we decide that we're gonna, spy on our everyday citizens when they're talking on the phone.
Well, historically, I don't think our police have been designed to solve crimes.
No, they weren't created to solve crimes. They were created to keep peace and enforce law.
And now it seems like they create crime.
Well, you've had that for decades.
Yeah.
Well, and how do we? And I think that's where ties a little bit into this idea of gun culture. Is how do we shift the police's roles?
Again,
Training.
Even beyond training, Ramon. Again, we're in the technological age, and there is so much that can be done via technology. It's almost scary, but at the same time, I mean, it reduces the police footprint, right? Because of the simple fact that we already got you with that little eye in the sky. Mm-hmm. If you're out on any block, any street corner, any pizza delivery joint, any little hood store, we got you on camera. And it's just that simple.
Well, it is, but police know if I pull over 10 people, I'm going to get 3 arrests. So making 10 stops, we know. There's 3 people riding dirty out of 10. And if I lower the age and I go to 18, it gets even faster.
Yeah, if you lower the age, then definitely.
And so what we also know is, who are those 3 people that I'm going to catch? If we move the police into black neighborhoods, we're going to catch 3 black criminals. If we move them into white neighborhoods, we do 10 random stops, I'm going to catch 3 white criminals.
Exactly.
And so a lot of, I think, what's being fed, but it doesn't feel equal. If we look at the jails.
Well, here's the deal.
It ain't equal.
Whoever said that a criminal was smart? There are some career criminals that are out here right now, living a life of luxury because they are smart and swift with their work. But the vast majority, they are not scholars. Mm-hmm. Okay, so therefore, when you look at the grand scheme of things, if I own a TV show or a news broadcast, right, and I show nothing but black folks getting arrested, if I show nothing but black folks
we're talking cops, we're talking the history of TV.
If I show nothing but that, what is it going? It's going to make you think what? That's the norm. It doesn't happen in white neighborhoods. It only happens in black neighborhoods. You see what I'm saying? It does happen in white neighborhoods.
But how have you been able to get above that? So the 3 of us have all said we feel the weight of that image on us. Every time we stop by a cop,
it's going to sound really freaking nerdy and really TV-like, but I swear to God, right here, right now, it was through a gentleman by the name of Adam. I forget his name, but it was years ago. I worked at Hooters, And that man, white guy, that's when I knew. And you couldn't have told me before then. If anybody would have told me before then that a black man could trust a white guy, I'd have called you all kinds of names, and none of them were in the Bible. Okay? But what changes is that handout. You know what I'm saying? That handout for a hand up. You understand what I'm saying? That conversation, yet again, it's all conversation based. And that man sat there and told me when, you know, after the government messed around and played with my mother's head and you know, had her and my father separate because, you know, Big Daddy government was going to take care of all of us. You understand what I'm saying? But when I'm taking care of you, you can't discipline your kids, because if you discipline your kids, we'll throw you in jail. You understand what I'm saying? So it completely breaks down the fabric of what we had as a community at one point. But beyond that, what I never, ever, ever thought, because I always thought that white people hated black people. That's what you're taught. That's what I was taught.
Oh, I don't think I was ever taught that.
That came from my mom and what, you know, was fed to her. You understand what I'm saying? So you constantly getting taught that, well, you're going to build up a stress and anxiety factor that is ridiculously through the roof. And then whenever you come into contact with these individuals that you feel as though might be trying to take advantage of you or treat you in an ill manner or you know, put you on notice or try to lock you up for something stupid, a lot of the times where an individual winds up going from bad to worse is a conversation. If I ask you, is there anything in this car? I'm telling you, and like I said, it's a nerdy story. Adam brought me up, and I'm gonna segue right back into what I was about to say. Adam brought me up and caught me in a vulnerable point, because I was either on my way to jail or on my way in the ground. Okay, because I was in the streets heavy, and that job at Hooters changed my life, because if it wasn't for that man Adam that believed in me, that there was something more there than just that thug that was in the street that was, you know, pulling girls and throwing money around and getting in the bars early because he looked older and spoke older and dealt with older people, I wouldn't be here to sit and talk with y'all now. But again, that goes into this. So it was me, my brother, and my sister coming back from the gun range. It is a metric ton of firearms in the trunk of this vehicle, okay? Straight up, no bull crap. We get stopped, and I think we didn't even get a ticket, but I think if I remember correctly, it was from me. I was looking for something in the car, and I was driving a little bit erratic. I might have been weaving and maybe thought I was drunk or whatever the case may be. So he comes up, and I think that's what he even said, that he stopped me because, you know, I was riding in line or something like that. So, you know, I handed him my concealed carry. So he's like, you know, every cop does this. Are there any other firearms in the car? Mm-hmm. Everybody laughed in the car, and and you know, he was kind of confused for a minute, and I was like, absolutely. He was like,
all of them.
Where are you on your way from? I said, the gun range. And then he started laughing. He was like, all right, I'll be right back. And, you know, he ran the name and all like that. Didn't bother anybody else in the car. And came back and said, all right, well, just be mindful of what you're doing, you know, so that we don't have an accident. Okay, thank you very much, and ride on. But I mean, it's funny because when I look back at what you are all saying, all three, when in regards to police, and in regards to what I see even today with our youth and things of that nature, even the young adults that actually have a head on their shoulders, you know, there is that fear, and I don't have that fear. I had it a long time ago, but as I grew older, it was like it shed, because I'm engaged with so many different conversations with so many different people, Indian, African, you know, Caucasian, you know, you name it, and we're having conversation. Mm-hmm. I don't shy away from conversations, no matter how difficult they are or may be. I just don't do it. when I was at the Board of Supervisors meeting because I'm affiliated with the Franklin County Militia. We were at the Board of Supervisors meeting. I had a very, very nice speech, man, that I had. I was good, and I was, going over it, making sure that I didn't miss anything, because I didn't want to, take my eyes off of the board to look down at notes, so I'm just freshening up. And every person that went up were bad-mouthing the militia. So the more bad stuff I heard, including your mom and dad,
yep.
the more stuff I heard, it pissed me off. So by the time, and I believe I went up right after your mom, and by the time I got up there, I'm standing there at the lectern, and I'm looking at the freaking speech, and I'm like, and I folded the speech up, put it in my pocket, and I let it rip. And I was basically saying, it is appalling to me that in today's age, we cannot reach out to a group to get an understanding of what they're about. Mm-hmm. All we do is just make insinuations, baseless insinuations, from especially individuals who may have lived in the past. And it resonated. Your mom actually talked to my sister right after it was over and said, he's dangerous. You know what I'm saying? And my sister was like, well, why do you say? And she said, because he speaks his mind. I don't speak my mind, I speak my heart. Mm-hmm. There's a difference. Mm-hmm. Because if I spoke my mind, bad things will happen. But I speak my heart, and it's because I know that all of us are better than this. And I know that, Democrat, Republican, Libertarian, conservative, it doesn't matter where you end up on this scale. Mm-hmm. Can you have a dialect with somebody? Can you actually break down and not have an outlook of, I'm not going to talk to them because they're this, or I already know their take. You probably don't. That's why when it came down to you guys reaching out to me, like, I had to correct my sister, like I had to scold her, and that's my older sister, but I am the youngest but the oldest, if that makes sense, and I'm fairly certain that probably y'all, I'm saying. So I had to scold her because it was like, what would make you think that I wouldn't be interested in having a conversation with these young men about this situation? And she was like, well, I know how passionate you are about firearms, and, I know that they're not. I said, well, that's when you're supposed to run towards the conversation, not away from it. So I hold, and I want you gentlemen to understand that I hold y'all in high regard.
As we do you.
And I welcome any conversations that we could have and move forward together with to progress everybody. Not just black, but black, white, Hispanic, and Asian, so on and so forth. Because unless we do something about it, it's going to be the same perpetual nightmare.
All right, now I'm gonna cut because we're closing out of time. We got to get out of our space here. Mm-hmm. So that's a wonderful place to close out on. I'm gonna tease in that we've been invited to the gun range.
Absolutely. And
we'll get a chance to set up and say it the same way. And Ramon, I'm gonna give you the opportunity for the last word.
Hey, I really enjoyed this, man. Y'all guys have been great, man. I'm telling you, Drew invited me. Like I said, I'm new at this, but I really, enjoy learning all about firearms, the responsibility of having a firearm, and I just, like I said, I enjoyed this conversation because y'all guys came up with some great points. And Drew is, like I said, the brother's thorough. He's very, very thorough.
We've been told.
He's very thorough. And this is something that he lives. He lives it. I mean, he worked for me. He lives it. And he just knows he's very passionate. Mm-hmm. So for somebody that's very passionate about something that has taught me what I know, I can only respect what he has to say. And I just, if I don't agree with it, he know I don't agree with it. But I can look at his side of it too. And that's what we all should be doing. Just look at both sides, and you make your decision from there.
Okay.
Perfect.
But y'all been great, man. Y'all guys been great.
Yeah, thank you for the conversation. I do appreciate it, and I think classifying ourselves again as a liberal. We tend to speak on things that we don't know about, and that's what I appreciate about this conversation. Yeah. I did not know AR did not need assault rifle because I kept getting it wrong. I mean, first of all, I get dismissed a lot because. First of all, you're not saying it right. It's not assault style rifle.
Yeah.
So,
Yep.
I do appreciate you educating us and coming to the table.
No problem.
And nurturing this conversation. So,
Anytime, man. Anytime.
All right, thank you. Now, if somebody did want to get in contact with you, do you teach gun safety?
I do. So I don't do it professionally. I have no credentials, and it's not from fearing getting those credentials. I just don't have the money right now. I'm not gonna lie. But I don't do it for money. You know what I'm saying? It's not something. If it's the same way, I look at it from this perspective. If I knew the Bible back and front, what is my job? I'm supposed to teach the next brother about the same book, right? Am I supposed to ask for a nominal fee? No. So I don't look at it from and no, not taking anything away from individuals, because I'm gonna tell you right now, training it's a lot of money for those guys. I hold those gentlemen in high regard and those females in high regard that are firearms instructors, and I'm telling you, it takes a lot of money to be able to actually train people. I just don't. I'm so passionate about it. I don't care about money. I don't ask for money. What I want out of it is to have another informed individual that, whether they wind up becoming a person that holds firearms or embraces firearms, or whether they don't, is irrelevant. The bottom line is they got the knowledge now, and that's what I've always been about.
Okay, that's beautiful.
This is misunderstood.
He's being modest.
All right. Thank you.
You charge people for that knowledge.
start making your money. Huh?
He's been telling me.
Know your word.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, gentlemen. I'm gonna close it on out. Thank you again for joining us.
Hey, thank you. Nice meeting y'all.
Mind seems to scramble like a burned out candle with half the wick missing and a nothing for flame. Give me a savior that takes me away. Give me a blanket and a space for my head. When time descends like an old stage curtain on the back of my eyelids, I'd be in a place instead. You just kept a rambling, talking 19 to the dozen, like a worn out needle tripping right across said groove. He said there's a silence that's creeping in darkness, but why look for answers when there's nothing to prove? Give me a savior that takes me away. Give me a blanket and a space for my head. When time descends like an old stage curtain on the back of my eyelids, I'll be in a place instead. If time were elastic, would we dare ask it to hold on to something, for it melts down like ice? And if we could listen, we'd hear back the laughter, 'cause no one ever wades through Give me a blanket and a space for my head. When time descends like an old stage curtain on the back of my eyelids, I'll be in a place instead. When time descends like an old stage curtain